Good afternoon, all you friends and family members. This is Richard Wallace Jr., Reformers Unanimous Chapter Director number 520, based out of Flower Mound, Texas, with today's Director's Daily Dose that keeps the devil defeated. And I'm going to get the cross in the background there and square this thing away, and we're going to get rolling. Hey, I pray that you've been in the journal as we've been having the journaling class over the last few Wednesday nights. Tomorrow night, meeting up in the relevant room, the choir rehearsal room, 7 o'clock. Just been a great time together. Bring your dictionary with you as we're going to start breaking up into groups and dissecting and defining different passages. I hope, as we talked about last week, that you were able to get at least 4 days, 4 days out of 7 journaling this week. And if you haven't, it's okay. Come with what you got. Bring your meditation cards. We're going to discuss those things. And of course, the Proverbs have been alive. And especially, man, where in the world is this year gone? It's just unbelievable how quickly this thing is moving right along. And we're moving into Joys for Toys time here at the 520. Always an exciting time on the calendar. Then, of course, the day after Thanksgiving feast, always a phenomenal time as we go out and bring as many homeless folks as we can bus in the day after Thanksgiving, and we feed them up at the Burbs. Just a phenomenal time together, and we're going to be having a bunch of blitzes that way. I think that I'm heading out to Joshua Baptist this Friday night to help support our good friend Keeter Bowman and his chapter at Joshua, and so stay tuned for all of those things. Steve Kirkendall, our good friend and student and friend of mine, says this oftentimes when he's talking about and promoting the Battle is On, the Burgers and Blitz, the poster runs that we do, trying to get the word into the community about RU. Then, of course, as he promotes and pushes the Reformers Unanimous class and the For Life ministry up at Gainesville State School, in a roundabout way, this is what he's saying. Galatians chapter number 6. We're going to read a couple of verses, and I'm going to talk to you about what Reformers Unanimous is all about, what this thing is all about, brethren. And the Apostle Paul here, he's speaking to the church of Galatia. And to understand the text, you've got to understand the context of the passage. Now, here he's talking to this church, and they started well, and they've been bewitched by false teachers. And they're beginning, having started in the Spirit, they're beginning to fall back into the works of the law. Those things being the dietary laws and man doing the work to be reconciled back to God, and of course all of those different things. And the Apostle Paul says, "Brethren, if a man be overtaken or taken over by surprise in a fault," that is a mistake or a failure in regards to especially something that is a character flaw. "Ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness." That is, remember, power under control. You think of the horse having much horsepower, but being restrained by the bridle. It's literally power under control. "Ye then that are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself, lest you also be subject to temptation. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ." And of course, it's in John chapter number 13 that Jesus gives us the law of Christ, which is to love one another, listen, not with my love, but with Christ's love, with the agape love of Christ, that selfless, sacrificial love of giving oneself. You remember 1 Corinthians chapter number 13. Man, if you could speak, but without love, you've become a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. And of course, all of those things that the love of God is, the selfless giving of oneself. "For if a man think himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself." And 1 John chapter number 1 has really been working me over in my devotions deceiving ourselves. And this is talking about pride. Boy, recognize it's God that's given us victory. It's nothing we've done in and of ourselves. And so we ought to understand, being spiritual, that there's nothing that I could have done in my own strength or in my own power. 2 Timothy, to set myself free from the snare or the captivity of the devil. It was all Christ. And so understanding that with that spirit of humility, those who have been overtaken in a fault, boy, we ought to run to them. Jesus, when dealing with the woman who was caught in the very act, those accusers about to cast the stones to take her life in accordance with the law. The law demanded eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It was absolutely a capital offense, absolutely worthy of stoning, absolutely worthy of death. But Jesus, he was the New Testament, and love had entered the scene, and grace and mercy was now the calling card. And that ought to be us. Boy, when you see somebody who's struggling, when you see somebody who's faint in the way, may it be that you and I, members of Reformers Unanimous, having been lifted from the horrible pit, the miry clay, having our feet set upon the rock, having Christ, having established our goings, putting a new song in our heart, may it be us. Boy, not that casts the stone, not that runs behind the back to talk about and gossip, but rather that we would bear those burdens, that we might see another restored and reclaimed. That's my heart today. I love you. I cannot wait. I cannot wait until the journaling class tomorrow. Just been fantastic. I think 20 folks out last Wednesday night learning about a personal dynamic relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's what it's all about. I cannot wait. I cannot wait until Thursday night at 7 o'clock. God bless you all.